Hey students, welcome back to Fusion360. I'm Mr. Redmond and I'm going to show you how to do an even more complicated part today in this program. This is going to teach you a new concept when it comes to the sketches, which is called constraints. And they are extraordinarily useful in specific situations. We're going to make a pear cam. This is the pear cam right here, also sometimes called the avocado cam. And it's called that because it's shaped like a pear or an avocado. And a cam is a object that rotates, and as it changes, as it rotates, it's going to push on a actuator. You find these in some toys, like wind-up toys. You also find them in cars. They actuate the valves that allow fuel in or exhaust out of the cylinders of your car. Some of them kind of look like this, but they're not quite so dramatic. This one's pretty unique. So it's an interesting shape that's we need to think about for a moment. We have a square hole right here that may or may not be easy to see. The square hole here, it's pretty small. This is, again, in inches, so I'm going to change that. There's also, it actually appears to be two circles. One with a radius that is apparently cut off. No, it's 1.25. Here it is. This has a radius of 1.25 inches, and this one up here, another circle, has a radius of 0.5 inches. And that is a crucial detail that it can be missed, that it can be a circle, and this is a circle as well, and not just an arc. These two circles, it turns out, the centers of them are 1.75 inches, which is a very helpful detail when we want to recreate this. And it's only an eighth of an inch deep. It's pretty small, pretty thin, rather. So let's recreate this. I'm going to again push this off to the side, and you can look at this on the blend module and recreate it yourself. With me or later on. So I'm going to change my document settings and change this into inches like I did last time. Millimeters are very useful, but inches sometimes are required. So I'm going to choose this plane again, right here, and I need to make a few things. First, I'm going to create that bottom circle, the bigger one. The center here, the center of our coordinate plane, is called the origin. And then you also have your two axes here, and you see that the mouse kind of likes to lock in on those when you're close by. And that can be a little annoying, but sometimes very, very helpful. In this case, it's quite helpful because we want to start our circle at the origin. I'm going to start it here. I'm going to pull it out a little bit, and now add in the dimensions, which are 1.25 inches for this bottom circle. I need to also create another circle up here. It's a smaller one. I'm just going to put it off to the side over here. It needs to be 0.5 inches. And this is where the constraints come in, because I need them to be vertically aligned. Now, I could have started by putting this circle right on this vertical axis, but I didn't want to do that. I want to show you how to do it manually. And you do that here. These are called constraints, and this allows you to take your sketch items and align them in ways so that they are perfect for your scenario. In this case, we can add a horizontal or a vertical constraint. We can make sure things are coincident, which means they are at right angles, or tangential so that they're touching, which we'll use in a moment. We can make them parallel or perpendicular if you draw two lines and they need to be exactly parallel or exactly perpendicular. There's also concentric for circles. You can make them so they are perfectly centered on each other. This seems a little bit trivial at times, but they can be very, very helpful. So we want to do a vertical constraint. I'm going to click on my vertical constraint there, and now I'm going to click on the center of my circle and then I'm going to click on the origin right there. And now it clicks right into place, perfectly vertical. Cool. And you can hit escape to turn off any tool at any time. It's very helpful to do that. I also need to do the sides of this Pear Cam right here, these flat sides, and I'm going to do lines for those, but I'm not going to attach them to anything. I'm just going to do a line here, random line, and hit escape to turn off that tool because I don't want to do it again, and then I'm going to do another random line over here, right there. So it kind of roughly, it's not even in the right shape, but it's kind of in the right direction of each of those points, those two sides. So I need to do a dimension because the center of this circle needs to be exactly 1.75 inches away from this one. And I showed you that before you go down to create a sketch dimension, but there's a shortcut if you'd like. You can hit the D key on your keyboard and it turns on dimension automatically. And I use that all the time. So click on the center of that circle and the center of this circle, and now we're going to make sure that they are exactly 1.75 inches. Now, I just realized I made a mistake. Some of you might have realized that this is not the radius. That's the diameter. This says radius of 1.25 inches. I have put in the diameter of 1.25 inches. I need to double this. This needs to be double. So this needs to be 2.5, and that needs to be 1 inch. That was foolish. I can change that. I can hit escape real quick, and I can see when you mouse over the dimension here, it changes color, turns into blue. You can double click on it, and you can now change your dimensions. You type in 2.5 and hit enter, and it's going to get bigger. And the great thing here is it's not going to change any other property besides the size. So it's not going to change your constraints that you've already put in here. You might have seen that I just dragged it around. You can do that by pressing down on your scroll wheel of the mouse, and that's a helpful tool. So I'm going to double click on this one, type in 1. Now it's bigger, and that's good. And this needs to be 1.75, which it is. So now all of our dimensions are set. Cool. This line and this surface of the circle and this circle need to be touching, and they need to be touching in the exact correct way. We're going to use a tangent constraint to touch this line to this one. Bam. And you can do it again between this line and this line. Just click on the individual parts. And now we can do it to this one. And let's see if this will work. There we go. Perfection. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but I'm going to show you how to make this look a little bit neater. We have extra parts. We have lots of areas that could be extruded, but we don't want all these areas. We only want the part that looks like the Pear Cam to exist, not all of this extra stuff. We have a new tool to show you, and it's called the Trim tool. Trim will allow me to chop off some extra bits. I could chop off this, or I could chop off that, which I'm not going to do. All sorts of things. The little segments of line I can now trim off. I'm going to trim there. I'm going to trim here. I'm going to trim up down here. Now I have to scroll in real far because you see that there's a part right here that needs to go away. I can also trim this curve and that curve and this one. Now this popped back up, and that's not important. That's not something you can trim because it's just a dimensional line. It's showing you the dimensions there. You see that there's a warning here that some constraints were removed, and that's okay for the moment. We have one more feature that we should add to this sketch, and that is our little notch here, our little square hole. And we want to put that right on the center. And if we draw a regular 2-point rectangle, it's kind of hard to do that. 2-point rectangles kind of go out from where you click down, and centering them can be challenging. So I'm going to escape and I'm going to undo that because I don't want a 2-point rectangle. I want a different type, a center rectangle. If I click on that, I can come in here. Now it's all sides are going to grow from the center origin where I clicked down. What size does this need to be? 1.125 on both sides. So I type in 0.125 and then I hit tab and it's going to move over to the other dimension, 0.125, and I can tab back and forth between the two, but I'm good. I'm going to hit enter, and now we have our center square hole. At that point, I'm done with this sketch. We are good to go. I'm going to click Finish Sketch. And for some reason, it didn't go back to home, but I can fix that by clicking there. And now I can extrude it here. So I'm going to click Extrude. And this is the point that I want to extrude this surface here. I could also extrude this center hole if I wanted to, but I don't. I want to do this part. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to extrude it back. Looks like 0.125 inches. Hit enter. There we have it. We have a pear cam. It's pretty cool looking, I think. And it's pretty much it's identical to this. That's how you do a pear cam. So save your work, submit a screenshot, and you have completed a bunch of really cool parts.